Hey everybody, Nick here, back with a little more coverage from Cinegear 2024. When I signed up to attend Cinegear, I was really excited because a number of the exhibitors were lens manufacturers that I'd never had the pleasure of being able to work with before. So I think Cooke and Lights and Ingenue and Scorpio were all lenses I'd never been able to touch or see or shoot with myself. Along with a number of other lenses I just wanted to see more of, like the DZO film lenses, all the great work from the V35 project, Atlas, etc. Cooke had me particularly interested. So Cooke has a fantastic reputation in the industry. So many legendary films have been shot on Cooke lenses, and there is this mystique surrounding their own trademarked marketing term, the Cooke look. Yes, it's trademarked. It's not just what people say, but it's what people say because they want you to say it. And as I myself try and pick apart differences between lenses, what matters and what doesn't, my hope is that by discussing it here, I end up understanding it a little bit better myself, and potentially that thought process is helpful for some of you. If only to act as a counterpoint. Maybe you watch my videos and you say, oh, the way he's thinking about it is exactly opposite the way that I want to think about it. And so maybe that's helpful for you. But I got a comment on a video just today that really perfectly encapsulates the way that I'm thinking about this. So John says, I'm still learning about the nuances about lenses and their impact on cinematic images. I hear terms such as the Cooke look and the Panavision series. It is hard for me to separate lenses from camera bodies and the impact of post-production process, like color grading. So, first of all, I think the very best thing that someone in John's position can do is to admit that you're having a hard time understanding a certain concept. A lot of information is out there. There are lots of opinions masquerading as facts. There's a lot of true things that are said. There are a lot of untrue things that are said. I think the best thing that a person can do is admit when they don't know something, try to ingest as much information as possible, and not to be afraid to disagree with sources of information out there, regardless of how charismatic they are or how large a following they have. People get it wrong. I get it wrong all the time. Other people out there who have millions of followers and billions of views get it wrong. And at the end of the day, this is an art form. So what really matters is, was the equipment there able to get you to make the piece of art that you love and makes you feel the way that you want it to make you feel? If so, that's all that matters. But it is a technical craft, and therefore trying to work on these things and understand them is really worth the effort. As we dive into this lens rabbit hole, though, an important thing to remember is that lenses are going to be secondary on the tree of most important things to your image. The number one thing is lighting. So photography at the end of the day is just a recording of light. And so how light falls on the objects in your image, and then how you frame that image, from which direction you're shooting, etc., all of that makes so much more of a difference than which camera you're on, for example. Like, so there's this one little light here, right? If I just rotate it like this, I now have a completely different image, right? And that took 2 seconds with a light that was right next to me. Or I can go this way. Now we have another completely different image, and this one's kind of terrible, right? And just the tiniest little changes make such a big difference. People would do better to spend a ton of time tweaking a light when 2 degrees makes a huge difference to the image, versus obsessing over which $100,000 camera body or camera and lens package they're going to use versus another. That being said, lenses are important, but let's remember where they are on the totem pole. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled rant. So that brings us back to the subject at hand. Specifically, let's talk about Cooke and the Cooke look. Right, so on their own website, Cooke talks about the way that their bokeh behaves. And by that they mean that it has different levels of magnification at different areas in the image. So they talk about how the out of focus areas will magnify slightly larger towards the corners of the image, and their claim is that that helps bring the center of frame into focus a little bit more, or draw your attention a little bit more to it. They talk about color, that color is shifted a little bit warmer on their lenses. Everyone talks about pleasing skin tones, and they also talk about really high resolution, distinct from edge sharpness. So those are some of the things that they talk about in terms of what they mean by their particular look. And I was also really curious about the SP3 lenses. So the SP3s are these really compact lenses. They're not super fast. Their widest aperture is t2.4, but they're tiny, and Cooke claims that they are as good basically as any of their other lenses. So I went and tried out a bunch of Cooke lenses at the booth. They were kind enough to let me throw one of their massive 40mm 1.8 stretch special flare anamorphics on my V-Raptor. It's this beast of a lens. It is huge, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful lens. I enjoyed just, my brief little play with it. But then I threw on the SP3s, and I gotta say I was really impressed. More so than I thought I would be. The technical aspects, we can talk about. The bokeh, does it perform the way that they describe? I didn't really do a technical test. Is the image on the slightly warmer side? Yes, you can measure that. People have done those technical tests. But at the end of the day, the point was, I look through the camera and then I go to grade the footage in post, and I see an image that just feels different to me. It looks beautiful. And, obviously it can't open up to T1.4, which is really awesome. That's why I'm part of why I'm obsessed with the DZO Arliss primes. But it does seem to have what I would describe as almost like a patina over the image, very smooth. And not in a way that I mean the image is degraded, but I think of it as, if I'm trying to describe the technical aspects, and of course I could be totally wrong, and if this sounds hand-wavy, then just call BS on me. But what I think I'm seeing is that the lenses have very high resolution, which is their ability to resolve details, but not a huge amount of edge sharpness. So that contrast between line pairs, basically. You're not necessarily going to see this on a chart because line pairs are always shot in black and white to make sure you can distinguish them. But if I'm making a guess, I'm guessing that it's a high resolution lens without a super high degree of sharpness. That's not to say you don't get a sharp image, because you do, but maybe that's the element that gives you sort of this smooth look over the image. In any event, I was like, okay, these really are absolutely gorgeous images. I think I only shot with the 50 and the 100 SP3 lens, both of which were just outstandingly beautiful, just gorgeous lenses, right? And, I'd love to be able to do a little bit more comprehensive an A/B test with them to see, how is this one versus how is this one? But at the end of the day, they're tiny little lenses. They weigh almost nothing. They go onto any RF native mount or E mount, depending on which mount you set them up with, but beautiful, beautiful look. So I'm gonna give a hesitant yes to something like the Cooke look is real, but it doesn't mean that you can't find similar looks in other types of lenses. So certain things you can't fake in post, right? So if you have an anamorphic lens, it's going to have oval bokeh. You can't practicably fake that in post at the moment. Lens flares, bokeh, those things are hard to fake in post, but certain other things are super easy to fake in post. Focus fall off. If you want to make the corners of image blurry, super easy to fake in post. Barrel distortion, pincushion distortion, distortion corrections, all of those things super easy to change in post. Color casts as well. If you want to warm up your image, or if you want to make one lens look like another lens, that's very easy to do in post. And so to the extent that all you care about is the color of a lens, I would say maybe don't make that your #1 priority on why to buy it. But sometimes it's tough to separate these things out, as the commenter suggests. This rabbit hole has no end. Some lenses will make you feel one way, other lenses another way, and some pairs of lenses that you feel differently about could be manipulated in post to look the same, such that you're not able to identify one from the other. And again, that's where we get this conflict of art and technical craft. So when you're making the art, the placebo effect is real. If a piece of equipment makes you feel that you're going to achieve a certain result, you are more likely to achieve that result because you're going to be putting your energy and your thought process and all your aspirations behind doing that. Whereas if you have a piece of equipment that makes you feel like you're going to have a terrible result, it's more likely that you will have a terrible result. So, am I making any sense, or am I just talking in circles? Maybe a little of both. The point is, I do think there is something to the Cooke look. I adored the look of the SP3 lenses. I think they're really, really interesting. But there's a lot of other interesting stuff out there as well. And some of that will be in forthcoming videos. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. And I hope you're having a great day. Take care.